Okay, here we go. Let's see. Yes. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Namaste Experience. Today is Friday. I love Fridays. I still feel like a kid that meets the weekend. All of a sudden, we're going to be free. So it is Friday. James will be returning by Monday. So we join him on his blessed flights home. And today, I thought, especially coming from yesterday, it would be a good day to talk about forgiveness. And I want to wrap it up in a little bit of a context. And I'm going to use the Course in Miracles. So in the Course in Miracles, there's a section around Christmas time called the time of Christ. And the time of Christ essentially is when we lay no guilt upon each other. So essentially, it's saying when we stop projecting, when we stop looking outside of ourselves, either for help or to blame something outside. And the teaching of the Course in Miracles in particular isn't about big meditation and go to holy places and stay meditating for hours every day. It does suggest quiet, but the primary tool that we are given in the Course in Miracles is relationship. Why? Because our minds have been duped. We have been believing that we are fearful and guilty. And rather than just experience it, we look outside and put a picture of it outside of ourselves. We want to distance ourselves from that pain of feeling guilty or being afraid. That's called projection. By the law of God, we have to create. We have to keep giving of ourselves. It's how we have been created. And in our true self, in our Christ, our divine self, we give of ourselves, and it's called extension. And it's the extension of the love that we are. And in that state, there's a part of us that's still always in that state, that's never been harmed, it's never been changed, because we believed in some fantasy delusional game of separation. It did not affect this holiness that we are. It only affects our awareness of it and our enjoyment of it. And that all can stop right now. And the given method is forgiveness. As we forgive the brother outside of us that we blame, that we're mad at, that disappointed us, that abused us, that betrayed us, that hurt us, all the rest of it. Who are we forgiving? Ourselves. Because we're not multiples of bodies out here, even though it appears that way. It isn't what's really there. We have really been duped and we've gone along with it in believing in all of the many forms. So the time of Christ is any moment that we choose it to be. It's any moment where we say, I don't care what he did, she did, I did, they did, I don't care. We really aren't this appearance world, this game world of time and space, because we know there's more. We wouldn't have found a spiritual family. We wouldn't have come into whatever path we've been using unless there was a knowing in us. And it's this knowing that we turn to. This knowing gives voice to our holiness, whether we call it the voice of the Holy Spirit, our Christ self, Buddha self. None of the language matters. All of that is cultural. It's just communication tools. But what matters is that we know there's a reality within us that's always open and looking for happiness, looking for love. The reason we're looking for it is because we are it, but we can't find it because we've covered up ourselves with all these pictures of projecting blame and upset and this and that. So the moment we stop it, that's why the time of Christ can be right now. The moment we stop it and cut it out and say, no more. I don't care what he did, wars, rape, murders, all of it. I don't care. I'm not buying any of it anymore. Jesus calls these our weird imaginings. He says, no matter how weird you think and how horrible you make up this whole thing, none of it is so. It just isn't so. So the remedy is forgive. Forgive your brother, your sister, the world, the economics, the politics. Forgive everything. And in forgiving and letting go of the blame, letting go of the guilt, what happens is we kind of relax, and the guilt that we have been feeling but not knowing it can simply dissolve by grace, because the delay tactic was something outside of us, blame. The initial step is to stop it and say, I don't know how this works, but I'm not going to blame anymore. I forgive the whole thing, because there's nothing to forgive. None of us are guilty for this dream of separation. We were playing a game and we forgot to laugh. It got too serious. So yesterday, Calico was talking about Big Teddy and how he played the bad guy, not in her life only, but in many of our lives, including me, and how it was the biggest help for Calico and for me, and then it was also for Teddy. And that happens in many, many situations. Now, however it comes about, whether we're aware of it on some other dimension or not, is kind of irrelevant. What is relevant is what is practical now. How does all of that help us now? If we're sick, if we're limited in our finances or in our world in whatever way, how does that help us? Does it immediately, make the sickness go away? Sometimes it does. Does it make all of a sudden your relationships come in harmony? Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. The goal isn't out here to look a certain way. Here, let's have a better dream sequence. It isn't about getting a better dream sequence, although seek ye first the kingdom and these things are added unto us. Many times it is, but not when we chase it, not when we make it be the goal. The only goal that we're asked to have is to be here right now and let ourselves be loved by our Creator. That's the only real goal that makes any sense. And then do with us as you will. Take us here, take us there, put us in bodies or out of bodies. We're still alive because there's no death. Death is part of the dream sequence. So in a body, out of a body, sick body, healthy body, we're not bodies. So be with whatever. Forgive the body, the sickness, forgive the relationships, forgive everything, and literally let one little goal, dear God, dear Creator, here I am. You created me. This is how, as a kid, I thought, what do you want to do with me? What? Just show me. What God wants to do with us is love us. And the biggest prevention from receiving that love is blaming. And the biggest help we can do is cut it out. That's it. So I want to invite us all today. If there's a lingering blame, if there's a lingering regret, if there's a lingering addiction, I'm drunk, I'm eating, I'm shopping, I'm sexing, I'm whatever I'm doing. It's like whatever the distraction has been, let everybody off the hook. Everybody. It's because we're only letting ourselves off the hook. Instead of blaming someone, oh, you're a drunk, oh, you're an addict some other way, we're letting ourselves off the hook. Now, I'm going to give you 3 little examples. And then I want to tell you, I've been doing this novena to St. Teresa. This St. Teresa of the Little Flower. I love all this stuff because it's all little stuff that is a touchstone for this place where we let God love us. So this little nun, St. Teresa of the Little Flower, was a nun, I don't know, a couple hundred years ago or 100 years ago, a Carmelite nun who never did much. She entered the convent at 15, saying God wanted her in. They let her in. She died at 24. She never left Carmel. She was a Carmelite. She never left the order. And all she did, have a hard time with some of the nuns. She'd turn it over to Jesus. Oh, Jesus, I'll give you this as my gift. They call it St. Teresa of the Little Way. And she said when she died, I'm going to help everybody see that you don't have to do anything extraordinary. You just have to forgive everybody all the little mistakes that seem to happen. And this little nun, already a little nun, was doing this in very little ways. And that's all we're asked to do now. Little ways, wherever we blame. So when Calico was talking about Teddy yesterday, I got to witness it because in her letting Teddy off the hook, she not only let Teddy off the hook, she let herself off the hook. And what opened up was an abundance of love falling into Teddy's lap. And he ended up doing the last batch of printing the Sparkle edition of the Course in Miracles. And it started like a tsunami of love coming his way in terms of dollar bills. And in a couple of months, he had what he needed, $20,000, which was a miracle at that time. In my own life, I've seen what happens is when we forgive, our whole world gets lifted up. And some of you know, I've told you some of these stories before. I had a girl that stole money took the lunch deposit one day. And I went upstairs to the office and I said, oh, dear God, I'm going to bounce all these checks. What am I going to do? He said, don't worry about it. And I said, okay. And then what did I do? I didn't fire the girl. I loved her. I didn't give her a raise, but I loved her. And I just put her in another position. And from that day forward, business went up. Everything went up. Years ago, I had lupus. It's a blood disease. And I had a thought drop into my mind. I was blaming my father for drinking. And the thought that came to my mind was, your father's not drunk, you are. And I never drank. And I said, what does that mean? And then all of a sudden, in that instant, I didn't blame anymore. That was a miracle, and I got it. And in the next 30 days, my father stopped drinking after a lifetime. He was drinking since he was 10 years old. He stopped drinking. My lupus went away. We were in the restaurants at the time. Business went up we had several restaurants, and all the restaurants. And it was a time of, it was like a golden era in our family. It was a golden era in the restaurants for the customers. We had the same 1,000 customers every day, same guys. It was like happily ever aftering for everybody. How does that happen? It's that lifting the blame. So what I'm really asking you today is, wherever you've been mad at yourself or mad at someone else, lift the blame, get them off the hook, because it's always getting ourselves off the hook. And when one of us gets off the hook, we get free. But we can't get free while we dwell on anything negative. Everything that happened came from fear. That's all. Here's a good line. Now, this is from the Course. He says, it is possible to do this, to come into our Christ awareness all at once, because there is but one shift in perception that is necessary, for you only made one mistake. We didn't make a zillion mistakes. We wanted to play a game that we're separate from God. That was the one mistake. It's not true. And we played the game, but nobody got hurt. Okay. It seems like many, but it's all the same, all one. For though the ego takes many forms, it is always the same idea. This is it. What is not love is always fear and nothing else. Always. If you're a sexaholic, a gamblingaholic, a drunkaholic, whatever we are, anything that we loop our thinking in is what we're in all, whatever it is. It's what we're drunk with. Whatever it is. If we're drunk with fame, if we're drunk with, and it's that one idea that we keep our mind fixated on that distracts us from receiving the answer. The answer comes by grace, nothing we do. In fact, we need do nothing. That's another good section. We need to do nothing except stopping it. Stop the blame, stopping the looping in our minds and putting our minds in a receptive state. That's why I've been talking about the flow. The flow keeps us welcome in a receptive state because fear is nothing but constriction, remember? So when we're in constriction, there's no flow. Where it doesn't flow, there's constriction, a dam. That's for all of us. Our only job is to receive. What God gives us freely is love. And we're set up, designed to extend that love, not to use our mind to project blame for this fear that we are afraid still to look at. So today, I'm really inviting you, especially because it's a weekend and I want everybody to have fun. Forgive everybody everything. If there's a sadness or hurt, somebody let you down, somebody, your body's sick or this or that, let it all be what it is. Let everything be what it is. You know, I love my little props. Let it all be. Just let it all be. Be fat, be thin, be sick, be healthy. We're not any of this stuff. And when we keep striving to try and get better, a better relationship, more money, we're looping. It's called a distraction. And what we do is we keep the fear in place. When we just stop it, cut it out, drop it like a hot potato, whoom, drop it, and say, okay, I'm going to keep my mind on you. How do I do that? I don't know. Play, sing, dance. That's how you do it. Be of good cheer. Mostly be grateful. For me, the quickest way always, no matter how loopy I get, and I get plenty loopy, is thank you, God. Thank you that none of this is so. Thank you. It's a big mistake. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So today is Friday. Have a blessed, happy life every minute of every day. Any reason, anytime we are not, it's because we're blaming somewhere, and that blame is always just fear. When we are in fear, we're blind, we're deaf, and we're dumb. And if we can just stop it and say, you know, God's got to be bigger than my fear. It's got to be. It's got to be. I know it is. I know it from within me. Find out. This is experiential, just like our mornings are experiential. This is our experience of receiving. Let go of everything that needs to be forgiven. All of it was an outpicturing of one problem. None of it is so. God, our creator, loves us. It's like we are the apple of his eye. All he wants to do is love us. And all we have to do is stop defending and blocking the flow of love. That's what every constriction is. I'm blue, I'm sad, I'm this, I'm that. It's a constriction. Just cut it out and be. And love yourself where you are. If you need to cry, cry. Love yourself crying. If you're going to be blue that your body's going to be sick forever, okay, be blue a moment and then be present. Be back to being present. Stay here now because love is here now and it's constantly flowing. The love of God is like the ocean. It's like a river flowing, always flowing. And all we've ever been asked to do is let ourselves be loved. So that's my gift today, and I invite you to join me in it. I love each one of you. I thank you all. Thank you for putting on your cameras. Have a very happy weekend. Go out and play with someone. It's in our togetherness that the love within us is received more deeply, more fully. So, okie dokie. There you go, Calico. Let's see what's going to happen next. Go ahead. Oh, and today we have Scott. For those of you that can stay right after Calico, Scott's going to do a half an hour, and you're all welcome to stay for that. Okie dokie. Go ahead.
Oh, honey, so much came up just then. You know, even something as simple as you requesting that people turn on their cameras. I'm going to tell you what I went through with this. It's like, oh, I don't want to put on my camera because I'll see these waddles. I don't like these waddles. You know, it's again self-judgment. And that's all sickness is self-judgment. So we've got to catch ourselves every time we see ourselves judging anything, our bodies, because, you know, you see whatever you see here. I don't know what you see. I know what I see. I saw waddles. That's why I kept the camera off. But the reality is, I am a loving thought in the mind of God, period. Y punto. There is nothing else. So this is a temporary state. Bodies are temporary states. What's eternal is my mind. And the purer I can get it so that when I do drop this form, I can just ease back into the eternal mind that I am because I'm already there. It's not even, I don't have to go anywhere. My mind is still there. The form may not be, but the mind is. It's so interesting with Teddy. I've had more contact with Teddy since he dropped his body, quite frankly. And it's beautiful because I really get who Teddy was. And I so can see myself as Teddy, which is a part of, love yourself, your neighbor as yourself. It's like he was me. And yet I had this whole story of who Teddy was. Scary, loud, angry, which were not my favorite things to be around in the world. But the reality is I had to move towards him. I had to move towards him. It wasn't about him coming to me because I was feelings throughout this incarnation that has been very difficult for me to deal with. Did forgive it. Doesn't matter what's happening. It doesn't matter. No matter how real it feels to you, it doesn't matter. Just accept it as, oh, my lesson. This is my lesson. Oh, the car isn't working and I have to organize a taxi and I don't want to have to go through any of this. And this is a pain in the butt and blah, 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 blah. The scripts are different. It's for me go, oh, the car isn't working. Well, maybe I'm not to go anywhere. It's like me going to the grocery store without a list. I get whatever I get and I'm happy. I get home, I don't give it another thought. Oh, I didn't get blah, 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 and blah. So what? Eat what you have. You've got plenty. And it's really just accepting what is, whatever your script is. And it's a very beautiful thing. And I must say, Teddy has been with me a lot in the past couple of weeks because I'm dealing with some nuances of anger that I hadn't seen before. And again, no, no matter what the outside world was seeing, and there were I was giving myself clear projections, like the guy that wanted to kill me, he thought I was a bitch. That was a pretty clear projection, but it was for me. It had nothing to do with him. It had me going, oh, where am I still killing myself? Where am I still embarrassed that I get angry? Oh, the other day, a friend uh, called me up and I was sleeping, so I wasn't really conscious, and she wanted me to do something. And I just said, I can't deal with this right now. Now, in my mind, it came out as angry. And so I immediately heard myself go, ooh, don't be angry. That's not okay. No, it was fine. I wasn't projecting it on her. She did nothing. She simply called me up. And I'm at the point where I don't take anything personally. Don't take anything personally. Absolutely nothing personally. That will nail you. You will get kicked in the butt many times over that. It's like just, oh, I was in a deep sleep. I got woken up. She made a request, and I heard myself respond as if I were angry, and then immediately forgave myself. It's like, no, I wasn't angry at something out there. I was fearful. I don't know why this is a good one. Somehow, if I get caught sleeping, there's some shame in that. I don't know why. but there is. Oh, were you sleeping? No, I'm fine. I'm awake. No, I'm right there with you. Well, I was sleeping. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's like I will find every opportunity to beat myself up for something. And all judgment. Jesus says this, so I trust Jesus. All judgment is self-abuse. All judgment is self-abuse. I'm going to say this one more time for me. All judgment is self-abuse. And so it's like, I'm done abusing myself. I am so exhausted. I'm tired of beating up on me. I'm perfect. You're perfect. Everything's perfect. If the car breaks down, it's perfect. I just don't make any big deals about anything. And if I do, I come back very quickly. So thank you so much, Vicki. This is great. Talk about forgiveness. It's a baseline. Thank you.
Calico, thank you. And Calico, I feel guilty if someone calls me and I'm sleeping too. And I didn't realize it till you just said it. I said, oh, no, I'm fine. It's okay to be asleep whenever it is. But isn't it always the little things? That's why only love, only God, only now. If we can stay in the now, it's like from mild to wild. If we can catch ourselves abusing ourselves in the littlest thing, oh, I'm ashamed that I'm sleeping. What do you mean I'm ashamed I'm sleeping? What a foolish thing. But that's how it registered. As soon as you said it, I felt it. I've been that too. If we catch it and be compassionate with ourselves and maybe even laugh at ourselves a little bit, like, oh, come on. This is funny. Laugh at ourselves, but mostly be kind with ourselves. If we're not kind and compassionate with ourselves, if we need to cry, cry and be gentle with ourselves. We don't yell at a kid that cries because he dropped his ice cream cone. We give him a hug and buy him another cone. It's do the same with ourselves. But don't stay wallowing in it because then we delay the gift of receiving the correction, the love that's always at hand. So, Calico, thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. And Scott, do you want to sing us or
I'll sing you home.
You're home. Do you want to sing a song for a closing and then begin your half hour?
Yes.
Okie dokie then.
This is one by Charlie Thweet, who is one of the first people I ever met who used to take Course in Miracles and put the words into song. So it was very inspiring for me to watch him work. And this is one of his first Course in Miracles songs about forgiveness. God does not forgive because he never can condemn. The blameless cannot blame those who have accepted their innocence, see nothing to forgive. Yet forgiveness is the means in which I will recognize your innocence, my innocence. Forgiveness is a reflection of God's love on earth. It will bring me near enough to heaven that the love of God can reach down to me and raise me up to him. God is the love in which I forgive, in which I see your innocence. God is the love in which I forgive and see our innocence. God does not forgive because he never has condemned.
Thank you, Brother Scott.